Right, streaming live again. I've got some upgraded. Let me take that reverb off my voice. That's stupid. Hold on a sec. Or at least turn it way down. Test, 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 test. All right, that's better. Sorry about that. I think I got this audio figured out. And I've got a better camera view. We've got my voice coming through my DAW, Digital Audio Workspace, which is Studio One. That's what I prefer to use. I've been using that for a few years now to record stuff. But yeah, you can see I've got this other camera live on the Thylacine. And the Thylacine is the clone of the Model T, Sunn Model T amp. And if you're hearing some little hiss and static, that's just my fuzz pedal. I'm going to turn it back on, though, because I'm about ready to play. So, just kind of doing this stream as a test. But for those of you who haven't heard the Thylacine yet in action, I love this thing. It's, again, it's a Sunn Model T clone. It's also doubles as a Sunn Model T preamp unit, standalone preamp unit. So, it basically means you can run this unit as a standalone preamp using a power amp or a mixing board or a PA system, something else to power it. And you do not need a speaker cabinet connected to it. You don't need a speaker load on it if you have it running in preamp mode. Right now, I actually just have it in amp mode, which is running the two larger tubes you see there in the top right-hand corner. Those are 6v6 power tubes. So we're getting around 12 to maybe 18 watts. I say this is a 10-watt amp, but it pushes a little more than that, I think. I think I've actually measured it, so it's pretty loud. I've got the volume about halfway up. Again, it's running into my DAW. Also, I'll show you my Captor X settings in case you're interested in how I'm doing this. So let's see. I think I just have to move this up here. Give me one sec. Oh, wait. There we go. So this here on the screen is the Captor X, the 2-Notes Torpedo Captor X, which basically allows you to plug in any tube amp into, well, take the speaker out of any tube amp up to 100 watts, I believe. You could probably run higher wattage amps, just turning the volume back. But yeah, it provides an 8-ohm load for the amp. The amp thinks it's just plugged into some speaker cabinet, and this software allows you to emulate speakers, right? So I currently have, if you see on the upper corner here, a Mesa Boogie. I don't know if that's, yeah, it's a 412. It's some type of Mesa Boogie cabinet. I'm not sure which one it is, but it looks like it's mic'd up with an SM57 mic. So they take these are called impulse responses, and they basically record the frequencies that come out of these actual cabs and speakers, and it's plotted on a graph. I'm not exactly sure how it's all done, but some software says, okay, here's what the frequencies are coming out of this thing. Let's emulate that so that when we play our amps through it, we can actually hear what it sounds like through those speakers. So if I turn the IRs off, you'll see what the amp sounds like raw, and this is what any amp would sound like if you didn't have it connected to a speaker, which is really bad. So let me show you. I'll come up here and turn off the IRs. So you turn the IRs on, which is the speaker cab emulators. So yeah, you can pick all different kinds of speaker cab options and download them, all that kind of stuff. You can even make your own IRs, which I haven't done yet, but they work really well, especially because you don't actually have to turn your amp all the way up, crank it with a full-on speaker cab, and have a microphone. You can actually do all this stuff. So it's a real tube amp, just fake speakers, basically. But, you know, it's pretty accurate because they're modeled after real speakers. It's not like it's just a digital software. It's actually someone has gone through the trouble of miking up a cab and figuring out what frequencies are going through it and creating that little piece of software called an impulse response in IR. So anyway, long story short, let's play. Let me hide this screen. Not that one. Not that one. Hold on. This one. All right. I've got a little drum beat going on my DAW, so I'm just going to play that, and then I'm going to play the amp with it here. I don't know if anybody's on live. I can't see who might be on here. It does say there's one viewer at the moment, but I don't know who you are. I'm sure I know you in person. Thank you for joining, though. Other people can watch this back, not live, when it posts. So let's go. Let's hear this thing. Drums? Where are the drums? Wait a minute. There we go. I'm getting a little sloppy. That was just improvising. But yeah, hopefully the audio is sounding good. Stop those drums. Yeah, it was a lot of good audio coming through my headphones here. So hopefully I've got all this crap worked out now. My other streams from last week were pretty terrible. But I think I fixed most of the glitches and stuff. So yeah, this amp, oh man, it's so good. I've got a fuzz pedal on right now, which is a clone of an Acapulco Gold fuzz pedal that I built, and I like to put a tube screamer, a Ibanez tube screamer, before the fuzz pedal to tighten it up a little bit, to make it not as thick. So the tube screamer, the settings are way down, so they're super low. All it's doing is thinning out my guitar low end, basically, and allowing the bite to come through, especially on the chugs and the hits and everything. So if I turn that tube screamer off, it's just all fuzz, and it's great for certain things, but not my style really. So yeah, with the tube screamer before the fuzz, it tightens it up. Yeah, it's just something that I like in my sound, because I want those notes to come through. Some of the ones that get really muddy, it still sounds sludgy and dirty and heavy. It's just not muddy, you know, like it doesn't have that really flubby low end. And for some stuff, that's good. I mean, for, you know, stoner doom and stuff, it's great. But my personal playing style is kind of roots in thrash metal, so I like to hear the notes I'm playing, not have them kind of get all muddy together. So yeah, so let me turn the pedals off for a second since I'm doing this. All right, no pedals. This is what a Sunn Model T sounds like with nothing. It's a very low tuned guitar, so it is a little low end, chunky, and dark sounding. So you can clean it up a bit. And yeah, this has... So I was going to try to move the mic closer, but I have it on a stand right now. But the amps over here, you can see in the corner, there's a bright channel and a normal channel on this, which is the same as the real Model T. The real Model Ts had 5 input jacks. Well, 3 input jacks and 2 outputs. So what they did was they said, we're going to have an input for the bright channel, an input for the normal channel, and a both input, which is what this has. So the one I'm plugged into there is the input channel, but I have a 3-way switch. Instead of putting all those separate jacks, you can do the normal channel. So that's the second one, is the volume for the normal. You switch it up to the bright channel, or in the middle for both. So yeah, it saves a lot of space on something this small. I mean, this is basically a lunchbox size amp, so you know, it saves a lot of room than having 5 jacks. The other 2 jacks are output jacks, and Sunn allowed you to basically take your raw guitar signal or your signal coming in from your pedals and send that to another amp or another rig, right? So let's say you had a Sunn Model T and an orange rock verb or whatever, something, and you wanted to take that signal and split it back. So you could go from the out jack, which is right down here, and send that to some other rig, right? And that way it's like, okay, my guitar's going to this amp and the same guitar sound is going to that amp. So I did that on this, so just allow you to send that dry signal out if you wanted to. That can help with recording too. If you wanted dry signal for your guitar, it's not like a DI, it's just literally splitting the signal. The other thing is there's another switch on the bottom there, which is sort of my addition to the Sunn Model T. I felt like the amp is awesome and Doom players love it because it's so muddy and muddy in a good way, you know, just that thick sort of breakup when you start cranking those preamp volumes. And I allowed the user to be able to cut some of that low end a little bit, make it a little bit less insane, so to speak. So the switch is called Tame and Fierce. And you can see when I put it on Tame, it takes a lot of that really thick low end away. So it kind of almost makes it a little more Marshall-y. Now I'm still playing this really low tuned guitar, but if I was playing a Les Paul or something like that, you would really hear the difference. It would really make those notes sound a lot more clear, less low-end muddiness. So that makes it really versatile, because if you wanted to use it as a thrash amp or something like that, you could. So, for example, even though this guitar is really tuned super low for Doom, I'm going to play some thrash on it, because I'm just going to hit it with a clon boost and have that tame setting on. And it'll really tighten up that bottom end and make it sound really good for even thrash metal or death metal or something like that. So, clon boost is on. Yeah, so that helps a lot. It takes this amp and kind of allows you to make it do something else. And what it's doing is it's changing one of the capacitors in the very first stage, where at the gain stage, where your guitar first comes in and hits that first tube. One of the capacitors in there is like 250 microfarad is the value Sunn put in there, which is the fierce setting. Tame it's 1 microfarad, so it goes from 250 to 1. It sounds like a huge jump. It's not really that big, because you can get into the 0.01, 0.00001, and all those values in capacitors. But the 1 microfarad kind of makes it a lot more like a Soldano / Marshall kind of a sound. Now the gain isn't, as it goes through the amp and goes through all the gain stages, it still sounds like a Model T. So it's not like radically changing the amp. It's one value is changing in the beginning, but that sort of cascades along. So that's why it's so effective putting it where I put it in that first stage. So it really helps with this kind of stuff. So I'll play a little bit and I'll turn the fierce on, and you'll hear how a lot of the bottom end kind of comes in, and it probably gets a little more muddy, not quite as tight. So it's on tame right now. Fierce. It's still, even with the clon pedal, it still sounds kind of tight. Yeah, so it's also, you probably hear it more when it's clean or cleaner. Let's do that. Not super clean, just a little texture. Let's see. So this is the fierce setting, the stock Sunn Model T. Let me put a little... It's hard to get to my pedals behind me. And then if I switch it to tame, I don't know if that's coming through here, but it sounds a lot more Fender-esque now. That low end is breathing a little more instead of getting kind of like pushed so much. Just back to stock. See how those bottom notes sort of run together. It's cool. I mean, just depends on what you want to use. for the Doom stuff, the Fierce setting is the way to go, the stock Model T. Everything else in this, you know, when you have it on Fierce, it's exact to the Sunn Model T specs. I mean, the preamp section is 100% the way they did it. I didn't change any values. I didn't, you know, deviate from any way anything was wired or connected. The only difference in this is that instead of having a 150 watt power section, it has a 10 to 20 watt power section with the 6v6 tube. So it's a really nice recording amp, really nice for jamming at home, low volume stuff. Definitely recording. I've recorded a ton of stuff with this amp. Yeah, so this is about where I like to set it for the Doom stuff. And add the fuzz. Cool. So, I'm not going to make this a long stream. I'm just messing around tonight. I am going to show you how radically the sound can change with any amp, really, by changing your speakers. So let me share the screen for the Captor X, and I'm going to change some of these IRs. And I'm going to do it while I'm playing, so you can actually see. So again, this is a Mesa Boogie. Let's change this to Celestian Creamback 412 cabinet with a SM57. Again, there's two of them on. So I have on the left side, I think it's the left side, is the Creamback. Right side is the Vintage 30, some kind of Vintage 30 cab. Here's, I don't know if you heard of the DV77 speakers. It's more of a newer speaker, but reason why there's so many of these, oh, you can't see that probably. When I pull this down, oh yeah, you're not seeing the drop downs. There's so many of these because sometimes when they make these IRs, they put different microphones on the same speaker, and they'll have the different microphone models on there, or they may position it differently on the cone, on the side of the cone, 3 feet back, 1 foot, 6 inches away from the speaker, whatever. So there's different blends basically you can make with the sounds, just as if you were recording a real speaker cab. Here's a DV77 on the other side. For shits and giggles, let's make them both the same. DV77 Modern 1. Okay, they're both the same. Also, let me turn off this twin tracker. twin tracker is a feature that the Captor X software has that allows you to make it sound kind of stereo, which I like because it almost sounds like you're doing a one track on the left, panned all the way left, and then another separate performance track of a guitar being played at the same time on the right. So it varies it slightly, just as if it was stereo. So mono in both sides would be. That's more what you would hear if you're sitting in front of a speaker cab. With the twin tracker, it sounds more like stereo recorded tracks. So it's kind of nice to at least practice and write like that. It almost sounds like you've got a finished product. So those are the DV77s. Let's switch both of them to vintage 30s because everybody's familiar with those. Not my favorite speaker, but I kind of like the way they sound in these IRs, actually. With the twin tracker on. Vintage 30s are one of those speakers that I'm not a fan of when I play through them live, but recorded, they always sound good. I mean, a million records were recorded with those speakers, so, you know, it shows you. Here's a Celestion GT75 through a 412. Let's do that mixed with the vintage 30. Let me turn the reverb off. It's pretty cool. A little darker sounding to me. Let's see. I always go back to these Mesas. I don't know why. I mean, I have Mesa cabs, and I love them. They're my favorite cabs, so the IRs are the same thing. It's just the sound I like. There's a couple of different ones. I think there's just recorded 2 different ones, same cab, recorded with 2 different kinds of mics. Not really liking that one. Let's go back to the SM57. Let's just put the SM57 Mesa cab on both. I like that sound a lot better, the SM57 mic. Yeah, very, very cool. Again, this, not trying to demo this Torpedo Captor X software, but it does have a lot of different reverb settings and things like that that you can mess with, which is nice for recording and so this is in a crypt. Well, we need to turn it up. I kind of like that loft one I was doing. Studio is always nice. Just this kind of has that small room feel. Turn this back. All right, that's it for tonight. Just wanted to mess around with this and try a new stream with all this new software and settings that I think I've worked out now. So hopefully this will be a better experience for anybody who's watching. Thank you. See you again soon. Peace.